Good morning. It's Saturday and it is, let's see, September 25th. And I believe this is the 10th, maybe the 11th time I've gone live early in the morning. So today I'm going to do something I have never, ever done before. First let me introduce myself. Kathy Peck, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Wichita Falls, Texas. So, and you can follow me on my blog, tandstamps.blogspot.com. So today I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to create a card from scratch. Well, that I've never gone on a live without having made a card beforehand and then remake it on any video. So today I'm going to make this card for the first time. Now I did do the cutting and the figuring out already, so if you can see here in this corner on my grid paper, this is my grid paper that I love to use. I decided what size I want my card to be. It's actually going to be a 5x5 card with a 4 3/4 panel on the front, and this is where I worked out how I'm going to arrange my papers, because this is a DSP focused card today. And then over here, since I'm going to do an unusual size card and I don't have an envelope for it, these are my figures for my envelope, going back to yesterday's video. So today, the whole focus is going to be on Sale-A-Bration's Peaceful Prints paper. It's on page 8 of the Sale-A-Bration catalog, and this paper is free with a qualifying purchase of $50 until 30 September. After that, it's gone. It coordinates with the Peaceful Dear bundle that's on page 26 of the July to December mini catalog. So, and if you get the bundle, which is the stamp set and the punch, the Dear punch, it's a 10% discount, though it is early. So I'm like stumbling over my words, but this is really a cute little set. So here we go. Let's have a crack at this 5x5 card. So I'm starting out with a thick Whisper White card base, and it is cut at 10x5, scored at 5, folded in half. Okay, so that's the start. Layer, we're going to have one layer, and it's all DSP is what's going to show, but this is my little trick. I don't want to glue these strips directly onto the card front because I may be crooked or whatever, so what I like to do is I kind of cheat, and I've cut a piece of garden green because it's a color that coordinates with the paper, 4 3/4 by 4 3/4, and then I've measured out my strips, and I have 3 strips cut at 1 1¼ by 3½, and then 1 strip at 1 inch by 3½, and that's this little one. So I'm gonna glue all these on here. This is the big one, and I'm gonna glue this one first because then I'll butt all these up against it. So prepare to watch me glue. Here we go. So I love this paper. I mean, it's just really cute, and so we're going to make an envelope out of it afterwards. So today you get to see the whole shebang. Alright, my glue has been tested to make sure it's operational, because you know, sometimes my glue doesn't work first thing in the morning. I guess today's going to be one of those days. I tested it a few minutes ago and it was fine. So you just want to put a little smear of glue on here, enough. Gotta make sure it's long enough to meet the needs of this card front. Alright. And then I'm going to line it up on the bottom and the sides, and what I like to do is just stand it up and push with my thumb, just kind of bounce this on the grid paper and push it down to make sure it's straight. Oh, look at that. That's perfection. Then I take my, since I didn't put a lot of glue on here, I take the bone folder and just give it a little rub. Now I'm going to trim this excess off with my ginormous scissors here. These are some old fabric scissors I've had, and Speaking of fabric, I went to the local quilt show yesterday. My goodness. Those ladies do some fabulous, fabulous jobs. I mean, the quilts were just so pretty. Okay, now we have to decide how we want these to go on here. I think I may put this glue, hot glue everywhere. The stripes up top, or I think it was going to go there. I like it like that. Alright, so I'm going to start with this one at the bottom. So I went to the quilt show. First time I ever went, my neighbor was telling me about it because she's actually a big quilter. She submitted 9 quilts. So I took pictures of all of them. But they didn't have any like quilts, big quilts for sale, because if I'd have found one, I'd want one for my bed. I need a new bedspread, and oh, well, guess what? We're changing the orientation of this card because I just put this one on upside down. So I guess we're going this way. Okie dokie. Flexibility is the key to air power. That's what they used to tell us in the Air Force. So, and we were always flexible. Here we go. Yeah, this is really a cute paper. Now, I did cut all these papers the same length, but sometimes they come out a little different because you know your eyeballs aren't always accurate. So I'll trim off any excess that I have overlapping. Okay. Maybe I'll go put that there. But I liked this card idea because it shows off the DSP, and that was the whole purpose today for me, was to show off this cute little Sale-A-Bration DSP that's absolutely for free, which is pretty cool, with the purchase of something else. But the whole paper and the stamps and not dies, but punch make a nice little package to create simple cards. Alright, so yeah, we have some overage here, but that's okay. We just trim away. There. So I will just take my gigantic scissors here and just trim off all this little bit of excess. I find that with a larger, heavier scissor, it's easier to trim off these little thin bits that hang over than with your snips. Okay, that's done. That's the card, the layer. And see, since I went ahead and I put it on a piece of paper, everything is where it needs to be. There's no mistakes. So then I'm just gonna put this on here. Now, if I wanted to, I could cut a piece of, let's say, real red and make a thin little border around here, but I'm going to leave it just like this, and I'm going to glue this directly onto here. I'm in here in the office, and the puppies are in here snoozing away. Yep. It's amazing how many hours a day a dog can sleep. There. And I think for the inside, later on, I'll just stamp something on here because we're going to do a little stamping right now. Okay, so that's pretty much ready. So now all we're going to do is put together. I have this laying around. This is from, I forget what it's from, but anyway, this is a die cut label. And I'm going to stamp a few things on here, some trees, a sentiment, and then put the deer over top of the trees. Does that make sense? I hope so. Alright, so let's get to stamping. I'm going to use some garden green. Now, I haven't stamped at all with this particular stamp set. So, let me show you what. Here it is. It's the Peaceful Deer stamp set, and I'm going to use a couple of the trees. I think, I don't know which trees I'm using. Oh, okay. It's looks like, yeah, these two right here. Right here. And see, look at all the cute little deers. You even have a bunny rabbit. Alright, garden green, and then the sentiment's going to be sending you love and peace this season, and I will do that in real red ink. Okay, here we go. First time ever using especially photopolymer, you want to stamp a couple of times. Yeah, that's really dark, so I don't want it that dark. So, okay, maybe I do. Alright, so I'm going to stamp up here. Yeah, that's not bad. Now, if I wanted to, I could do a little second generation off. Like, make it look like it's in the background. Yeah, that looks good. Second generation stamping's when you've stamped with it once and you just use whatever residual ink you have left to stamp again. There. Alright, clean that off. Have a little piece of my chamois over here. Like those little chamois cleaners, and all I do is cut them in half and keep one damp one and keep it with me. So Mr. Deer will go on top of these guys just to give them a little interest, and then we're going to stamp the sentiment and then the envelope will be next. I always like to stamp at least once on my grid paper to make sure that everything's looking pretty good and that it's fairly straight. There, that doesn't look bad at all. Okay, and I'm gonna put him on with a couple of mini dimensionals if I can find them. I have some right here. I have the black ones. See, look, that's the other side of the DSP. I could have used either side, but I didn't want it to clash with that. But I wanted that white border to define the deer. So here we go. 3 little dimensionals should do it. I'll hold him up, and then I'm going to add a few little red rhinestones to this. Let me see. I think I'll put a tree on the inside. Wouldn't that be a nice thing to do? Yeah, so let's get out the garden green again, and we'll do a little bunch of trees in the corner. Let's do this big one. There. That works. Okay. Now we'll pop this up there with some dimensionals. It'll go right here. I think that's, and then we'll add some rhinestones to give it a little shimmer. Like those real red basic rhinestones. Okay. I know I probably used too many dimensionals, but you know, you can use as many or as few as you like. It's your choice. So I'm going to put this over here. I like that. There. How's that? Okay, let's see where we should stick these little guys. Well, good morning, Jill. I just noticed you were on here. Alright. This is always the conundrum. Where do you put these? And I'm going to put 3 because I always put 3. So that one felt like it needed to go there. Pop one up here. And maybe one right there. I want to make them look like a triangle shape. See, there's my triangle. There. See. Alright, here we go. Now, let's go with the envelope. I do have a prototype, here it is. I went ahead and I made one, and look, this fits perfectly. Now there is extra room. Let's say if this were heavily embellished, several layers, then you could bring the score line on this side out 1/4 more inch, and you would still have enough overlap to complete the envelope, and it would give you that extra room that you need for a bulky card. Okay, so here's my measurements in here. So what I did is I figured out top to bottom. I know my card is 5. I needed an extra 1/4 of an inch for room inside the envelope. I added a 1/2 inch for the flap, 1.5 inches for the closing flap. So that gave me a total top to bottom 7 1/4. Now my side to side, again, I know my card is 5 inches. I need the 1/4 inch extra space. I rounded, I added a 1/2 inch to make it easy to divide 5 3. What did I do? I added a 1/2 inch. Oh, here I go. This is where I get stuck. To make it an easy to divide card. But I probably messed that up. No, I think I added a 1/4. Well, anyway, I came out, figured it up. I needed 2 3/4 inches for my flaps, and it worked out. I always get fumble on the sides. They just mess me up every time. But it worked. I made the card. So let's do this. So we're going to have a 7 1/4 by 11 1/4 piece of paper. And I have my, I think I left the DSP. Let me go get it. I left the DSP in the other room. I'll get that, and we'll cut it, and we'll score and make an envelope. Well, I'm back. I did leave it all in my creative sanctuary, otherwise known as the dining room. So this is the paper I'm going to use. I want these dots on the outside, or I could use the trees, but I think I'm going with the dots because then I don't have to pay attention to direction, and because the dots are random everywhere. Alright, so this needs to be 7 1/4 by 11 1/4. So there's my 7 1/4. And 11 1/4 is right here. Let's see, I'm going to cut off 3/4. Well, that could have gone inside my card. Alright, here we go. So now I have my, I'm going to use my Simply scoreboard because I like to use it when I'm making anything that's like a 3D project or an envelope, because I like this hard edge to lean up against. Alright, so on the 11th side, we're going to score at 2 3/4. And remember, you're scoring DSP. I'm going to flip this over. I need to score this side, actually. You want to score the side you want to show. Score lightly, and see, be careful of that slip, because if you push too hard, you will, some DSPs will break, will tear. Alright, so I know that I have, this is scored at 2 3/4. I have my card here, and I want to have that excess, so I'm going to score here at, yes, 8 1/4. I think is going to do it. That might be too much. I think 8. Yes, because I want to have at least 5 1/4 inches. So there's a 1/4 right there. So 1 2 3 4 5. Yes, I'm gonna score at 8. And whatever's left over is what's left over. So if I needed more room because this were heavily embellished, I would score at 8 1/4, because it's what you're folding across that makes the difference for storing the card. So if it's real tight in here, then you can't get a heavily embellished card in there, whereas if you have a little more room, the card will fit easier. So this is the side where you'd want to add, and you have excess over here, so you won't lose anything. So if this were a heavily embellished card, I would score it 8 1/4, and that would give me the room I need for my card. Okay, this, I'm going to flip this, and I know I want this at 1.5 inches. That's my standard go-to size for my flap. And here I want a 1/2 inch, and this is 7 1/2, so I'm going to score it 6 3/4, or 7 1/4, 6 3/4. See how I slipped there? I always slip with DSP. I don't know why. Maybe I pushed too hard. That's it. 4 simple score marks. Now we're going to fold and burnish. Yes, Jill, I will try to remember to post those measurements in there, because this video is going to be attached to my blog post today, and I will put the measurements for the envelope in the blog post as well. Alright, okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to snip here, trim off all these little bits. I always wedge in. Everything gets wedged. Don't over wedge it, because you want to be able to secure that bottom. Oops. And try not to be crooked either. Too crooked. Well, that was crooked, but we're going to cover it up. Alright, let's see here. Sometimes it's awkward to keep everything in the camera's view and your hands going at the same time. I think I cut that one a little too low, but that's alright, that'll get covered up. These are not perfect. This is not machine made, this is handmade, so there will be little flaws, little odd angles, but hey, it's the thought that counts, right? Alright, here we go. We're going to start in the middle, and see, I have a nice amount of overlap, so you get excess paper here if you needed the room for a bigger card. Alright, we're going to slap some tear and tape in here. And since this has a lot of room, oops, I hate when that happens. Just sometimes the tear and tape, if you don't tear it cleanly, it makes it pulls it. That's going to get covered up, so that's okay. Since there's a lot, it's fairly big and there's a lot of room, I'm going to snip this one. I decided to tear and tape both sides to make sure we have a nice, secure fit. Okay, here we go. There. That's sealed. Alright, and for this end I like to do a little bit of glue, and like I said yesterday, the reason I use glue is because tear and tape is too wide, and it could get on this little piece here, the opening, because there is a little opening there, and next thing you know your card is glued in your envelope, which is not a good thing. I always press down with my bone folder. Now, you know, when you're doing this with a bone folder and there's glue involved, you're going to get glue on your bone folder. So yesterday I went through and cleaned my bone folders up, and what I do is take a microfiber cloth, I wet it, and then I use some orange oil and I rub it, and then my bone folder smells good for a little bit, and it's clean. And the orange oil takes off all the goo, and then you just rinse it off and poof. It also this was a Stampin' Up, had the Stampin' Up logo here, but the orange oil will remove the logo with no effort at all. I mean, it just kind of disintegrates, but there's a little snag there. I'm going to cut that off. Yeah, but hey, at least my bone folder is clean, because you know I have a class next week at home, so I like to make sure all the equipment is fresh and clean. So I have to clean my stamping blocks next, and I do the same with them. If they have goo on them, I'll rub some orange oil on them, and then throw them in a dish pan with some soapy water and give them a good scrub. Well, I didn't want to do that, did I? Oops, put that back on there. Okay, leave that unless you're planning to close it up, but here you go. Look, this is going to fit perfectly. Ta-da! See how easy it is to make an envelope for an odd size card? Just takes a little math. There you go. This is my creation for today using the Peaceful Deer bundle and the Peaceful Prints DSP, which is only available until next Thursday, the 30th. After that, it's gone for good. I have to say I'm really pleased with my finished product. Alrighty. You all have a wonderful Saturday. Again, I'm Kathy Peck, Independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Wichita Falls. I would love if you'd follow my blog, follow me on Facebook, follow me on YouTube, follow me wherever. Alrighty? Thanks. Have a great day. Bye.